Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanao Bhunaktu Saha Viryam Karvavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुम्. Okay, so we are on chapter 10, and today we'll be doing verse 27. And since some people came after a while, just a little bit summary so that we have some connection and maybe what we did in the previous verse. So in this chapter, Bhagwan is revealing his vibhuti to Arjun, and he's pointing out the most glorious, marvelous among various things or aspects in the entire cosmos. He has taken all different. So, he took the world from world of Devatas, Adityas, the Nakshatras, the Vedas, senses, and all these things. Then he pointed out variety of things, because the whole question was, how do I see God in the world? And obviously he also mentioned in various different verses since last several chapters that it is that consciousness because of which everything functions. So that's behind everything, that's what it is. And then another aspect of it, the way we look at it, that is a very dharma, the very essence. Dharma is something that upholds the thing. So that is the very essence of all beings and everything around in the universe. And it is also because of that, or because of Bhagwan or consciousness or that factor, that everything exists and everything is possible. So we have to keep that in mind. That's the whole idea. And the reason these vibhutis are given, one of the aspects is that we can use them as object of worship, which help us in contemplation and tune our mind to that divinity. And this part is called Upasana. And when we go to Taittiriya Upanishad, they have taken many different approaches of Upasana. So you have like a variety of things. Each one can pick their favorite one, and several different ones you can. If you get bored with one kind of Upasana, you can take another one. Never ending, infinite, I think. So that's how it is. And then what does Upasana do? Just to keep in our mind all these important things, that they make our mind more and more pure and tuned to divinity. It's a very important sadhana, because before everything sinks in well in us, our mind, upasanas are very important. Otherwise, kacha pakka gyan is not very good. So that's why these upasanas are so important to continue. And then Nikhilananji was saying that just like these days, the most popular thing is puja, right? So we are in puja, what do? People sometimes even forget the goal, but we are invoking some blessing of God in there, whatever puja we are doing, by offering flower, fruit and all that. And you take a stone and you invoke Shiva in it, something so much higher thing, and to see divinity in that. So this is what the whole idea is. So now here we are invoking it in a particular murti, but here Bhagwan is saying the entire world you can invoke me anywhere. That's the beauty. And then I think these days this very kind of interesting thought is going around. They say, okay, if people want to break the Hindu temple or something, it's all in the past. I don't think anybody's breaking it now. But they said, how can you break sun? Usko tod ke dikhao. Because, or a tree or anything, it's impossible, because we see Bhagwan everywhere. So we don't need a particular thing only. So you cannot break somebody's that kind of feeling. That's what it was. And he also said already in chapter 9, Bhagwan said that the realized person sees Bhagwan or sees me, Krishna Bhagwan is saying, everywhere. And he sees everything in me. So he introduced these two concepts already. And the 10th chapter, what we are doing is we are seeing Bhagwan in everything, right? And then in 11th chapter, we will see everything in Bhagwan. So it's a little bit subtle thing. So one is, one in many, and one is many in one. So both has to be covered to get a good picture. So just remember that, because slowly we are going to be moving towards 11 also. And that one that we are talking about obviously is the Paramatma, Supreme Paramatma. And so that's what the background is. And the last verse we saw, Bhagwan said that I am the Ashwatha tree, with people tree among all trees, and among all the Devarshis I am Narad, and I am Chitrarath among all the Gandharvas, and I am Kapil Muni among all the Siddhas. That's what he said, accomplished and enlightened one. So that was the background. And so now we go to the next verse. Verse 27. Uchche Shravasamashvanam Vidhi Mamamrutodbhavam Airavatam Gajendranam Naranam Chanaradhipam. So Uchche Shravas, that's how we say it, is the name of a horse, and Ashwanam among horses. So Bhagwan is saying among horses I am Uchche Shravas, and we'll see who Uchche Shravas is. Vidhi, know, to be me. Mam, me. Amrutod bhavam, born of nectar. So there is a whole story behind this, and I think everybody has heard of it. Maybe you know some parts of it, maybe you don't, maybe you know an entire story, and maybe you know a lot, but we will talk about that story. Samudra Manthan, you've heard of it. Airavatam. Airavat is the name of a hathi, like an elephant. So Gajendranam, among lordly elephants. Gajendra means jo Indra among the elephants. Raja jaise koi ho, Among all the important elephants, I am Airavat, something like that. Naranam, among men, Cha, and Naradhipam, the king. I am the king. So on hearing this, it sounds very, very simple, but there's a lot behind each one, why he said it, and we should pull out all the important things and why Bhagwan picked that and what is the symbolic importance of that, because that's what we can do. So since he said that these Uchche Shravas, actually Uchche Shravas or Airavat, both came out of Samudra Manthan. And if you know the story, that's great. And if not, you can hear it again. So Samudra Manthan, it seems a long time ago. It's in the Puranas. And it has a lot of symbolic meaning. And we'll talk about the symbolism too. There was a Samudra of milk. Wow, imagine. Instead of water, Sheer Sagar they call it. So now we're going to Sheer Sagar now. Milky Ocean. And then Usmena, the Devatas wanted Amrit. Amrit is immortality. So now I think I had mentioned that Devatas had a lot of great qualities. But जब जिसको कुछ बल चाहिए ना, like power and this thing, उसमें वो थोड़े कमजोर हैं, So then उनको भगवान ने, I think it was Shivji, who said कि तुम, असुरों के साथ मिलके करो तभी हो सकता है. We have to take all our power together, and so asuras में we had talked about it कि ऐसा नहीं कि हर एक चीज गलत होती है उनमें कोई चीज, जैसे हमने बोला था कि राक्षस आप खुद की रक्षा कर सकते हैं and all that. Nobody saying कि राक्षस बन जाओ, but we can take some points that we can also develop certain good qualities from them. That's how we should look at it. कोई नहीं बोल रहा राक्षस बन जाओ. So anyway, and then another thing is how to manage a project. That's what this Samudra Manthan teaches you. That, कि ये नहीं कि, I have to just pick few people. नहीं, सब मिल के करो, तभी कुछ हो सकता है. Everybody in society can contribute something. You can't say that only one group of people, rest everybody just sit at home. No, not like that. So that's the little thing. And so, उन्होंने समुद्र मंथन किया. Their goal was to take out Amrit, but in that process, many other things came out. Okay, so that's what it is. Like treasures come out. So now symbolism, because that's the most important thing, that our own antakaran, our mind, man, buddhi, chitta, ahankar, you can say everything together, that's like a milky ocean. That's the symbolism. And it has got a lot of wealth. Okay, we may not be aware of it, and each one of us is very, very wealthy. No matter who we are, everybody's got that infinite wealth we have in there, in our bosom, in our heart, and these wealth are the great values are within us. And this is why, because we have heard that we have consciousness within us, infinite, atma, and it has all that, because everything comes from there. We saw that. So now, once we think like that, it becomes easy to understand why we have everything. So that's what it is. That this light of consciousness is shining in our bosom, and that is a vast milky ocean. And now the symbolism is that when they churned it, first we'll see the story and then we'll see, what came out. So in this story, they used, remember we talked about Meru mountain? Yeah, so it was like a spiritual mountain. One part of Meru mountain is called Mandarachal, one aspect of it. So this Mandarachal, because this Meru mountain is supposed to be a very vast thing. Maybe it has many different peaks and aspects and all that. And so one of them is Mandarachal. So they use that Mandarachal as a mathni, churning rod. Just imagine that पुराने ज़माने में वो लोग ऐसे मक्खन निकालते थे ना, तो वो मिल्क से दही से होता था, राइट? दैट इज़ अ सिंबलिज्म. मिल्क में से दही बनता है, दही में से बटर निकाला जाता है. सो जो वो रॉड ऐसे ऐसे करते थे, वो रॉड जो है ना वो माउंटेन का, बिकॉज दिस इज ओशन, सो इट हैज बी ह्यूज. एंड व्हाट डिड दे यूज एज अ रोप? Not some ordinary rope. Shiva gave his ornament. Vasuki is a snake. The story, if I start telling the story, is so interesting, the whole class will go. So I will not go too much in detail. But our teacher had told us this story that जब वो snake आया ना, तो देवता और ये लड़ने लगे कि सर किसके पास जाएगा और पूंछ कौन पकड़ेगा. So they thought कि किसी का सर पकड़ना is a great thing. So these asuras said, no, we want the, head of the snake, that side. And तो उन्होंने बोला अच्छा ले लो तुम, because the devtas are very smart. They knew कि क्या होने वाला है. So जब वो लोग churn कर रहे थे ना, तो ये वासुकी got nauseated. But obviously उसको ऐसे हिला रहे हैं जोर से. He threw up wish. All that got onto these asuras. Just to make it a little interesting. Anyway, so things like that happen. And then, so remember now, this is churning of the Milky Ocean, a very big task. So Bhagwan have to take avatar because वो mountain जो है ना, इतना भारी था, वो sink होने लगा नीचे. बोले, oh God, we can't do this now. We need a... So then they prayed to Lord Vishnu and all that. And Lord Vishnu ने कुर्मा अवतार लिया. Tortoise बन के आ गए वो. और उन्होंने अपनी पीठ के ऊपर वो माउंटेन को रखा. Kids love this story, And then Bhagwan also helped, imagine. So that's what the whole idea is, that everybody is helping to get this wealth out. So the snake is there, Vasuki, the Mandarachal mountain, Bhagwan became Kurma avatar, and then they started churning. And then when you churn, सबसे पहले निकल के आया poison, हलाहल. हलाहल निकला तो सब घबरा गए. You have heard of this story. फिर बोले कि क्या करे तो भगवान शिव is the only one who can handle this. So he drinks that poison. When we say drink, the story goes that he was drinking it and he was like having all this difficulty, and Parvati ji comes and doesn't let it go under. So the whole symbolism is that when we start meditating, all the negative impressions in our mind start coming up. When in the spiritual experience, don't they say that? There are all those things, past impressions, this, that, or certain unconscious mind में जो भरा हुआ है negativity या कोई trauma, everything start coming up like a poison. So what do you do with that? If you throw it out at the world, that's also no good, because everything will get burned, means, your relationship, everything will get messed up. So the halal, the whole symbolism is, if you let the halal go in the world, it will destroy the world. If Shiv Bhagwan takes it in his stomach, it will poison him. So what do? You dissolve it right in the middle. That's the whole idea. So he kept it in his neck and made it his ornament. His neck turned blue, and usko Neelkant bolte hain, and it became a beauty for him. It became his ornament. नीलकंठ बन गए वो. So that's the whole symbolism, that when सबसे पहले ऐसा नहीं है कि अगर हम लोग को कुछ अच्छी values निकालनी है तो सब अच्छा ही अच्छा होगा. शुरू में विष भी निकलेगा, उसको भी हैंडल करना पड़ेगा. So that was the whole thing. And then there are 13 or to 14 Ratnas came out, and I'll just go quickly over it. Halahal came, and then Kamadhenu was a cow that was given to the sages to help them in their yagnas and all that. And Bhagwan is going to talk about Kamadhenu, so we'll go more in detail. And the horse came out, that was the Uchcheshravas horse. And उसके 2 versions हैं different Puranas में. एक में बोला इंद्र ले गए उसको, और दूसरे में बोला बाली. Bali was Asuras का king था, but he was a good, relatively much better king. When I had told you the story of Vaman Avatar and Bali and all that. So वो Bali. So we will just stick with Bali because it's नहीं तो असुरों को ज़्यादा कुछ मिलेगा नहीं, सब देवता ही लेके भाग जाएंगे. चलो हॉर्स उनको दे दिया. Okay, let's assume that. It's fine, whichever way. Airavat, Indra got it. And we will be talking more about Airavat. Airavat is the elephant, and that became the Vahan of Indra. And anytime he sits, go anywhere, in any procession, or even fighting the war, he sits on it. And then Kaustubh Mani nikli, which was worn by Vishnu Bhagwan ko mila wo. Kalpa Vriksha came out, which is a tree, desire fulfilling tree, and that was planted in the Swargaloka. So जब हम लोग में से कोई भी स्वर्गलोक जाएंगे ना, तो हम कल्प वृक्ष एंजॉय कर सकते हैं. And Apsaras तो सभी को मालूम है. All the entertainers of heavens, we saw Gandharvas, Apsaras, they got it. All the Apsaras were given to these heavenly people. And then goddess of wine, Varuni उसका नाम है. Varuni भी आई, अपना wine लेके निकली. Who got it? Asuras got that. They love that kind of stuff. They got the Varuni. And then everybody's heard of this. Goddess Lakshmi came out. And she was so beautiful, so amazing. Everybody wanted that. But she came out with a garland. And then, the Asuras भी सब अपनी neck ऊंचे कर रहे थे. किसी को नहीं लिया. Bhagwan Vishnu. Okay. And obviously, person who has to maintain needs wealth. So Goddess Lakshmi got it. And then Dhanvantari. With Dhanvantari is that god of, like Ayurveda, they call it, long life, because he came up with the kalash in his hand, and that was Amrit. So you can say 2 things came out: Dhanvantari and these nectar came out. And then the whole story is about nectar. I won't go too much into detail. Obviously, that was the goal, so everybody was like fighting over it. And Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh knew it, that if Asuras become immortal, there'll be a huge problem in the universe. So they had to make sure that only Devtas get it. And so obviously they felt very cheated, the Asuras. कि भाई हम लोग ने इतनी मेहनत की और हम लोग को नहीं मिल रहा है. And that whole story is there, that भगवान मोहिनी अवतार बन के आए, a beautiful woman, and she said मैं सबको बांटूंगी, ये है वो है करके उनको ट्रिक करके देवताओं को मिल गया. खाली 2 असुर लोग जो है ना, देवता की पंक्ति में जाके बैठ गए थे. And those are एक असुर राहु केवल उसी के 2 टुकड़े किए तो वो. अच्छा, सी आपको ज्यादा मालूम है स्टोरी. ठीक है. सो हम विल गो विद दैट वर्जन कि भाई एक था, उसके फिर भगवान ने उसके 2 टुकड़े कर दिए, तो वो राहु केतु हो गया. यू आर राइट. Thank you for correcting me, because the story is so long, even I get lost in it. So that's why I say a lot of you might know that story. So what's up, hua? And then few other things came out also. Moon came out from there, and it says that Shiva got the moon, on his forehead, and Shankh came out, and Panchajanya, which Vishnuji got. So these are the thing. So the ultimate goal was Amrit, and Amrit is that immortality, self-realization. That's what the symbolism is. But in that process, you can get many other wealths, they're saying. But you get some negative stuff also, and you should be able to handle and manage those things. So that's what it is. And the true wealth is what, Nikhilanandji was saying, that it is the Lakshmi symbolizes that true wealth. And what is it? Prosperity and disciplined effort, spiritual striving, all that is that. So this is what the churning. And then, let's see. And then, some notes, I'm just trying to see if I missed something. Poison that came out represent past sorrows, pain, trouble that come up, unresolved issues while meditating. I already talked about all that. Okay. And then what Nikhilanandji was saying, that we have to manage the poison in such a way that it should not go to head or heart, he said. That's how he explained it. Because if it goes to head, you become very cynical and, like angry and frustrated and all that. And if it goes to heart, you become bitter, angry and that way. So he's saying that it should make us better, not bitter. That's why Shiva's symbolism is there, So he showed it through the Leela, that how to make the poison as your abhushan. And the way I was looking at it, look at it as some experiences in life that make us wise. Those are some tools that we have, that all these past experiences and all that, they may be negative, but we learn something from them. That's why this symbolism is so important. So that was, Bhagwan mentioned that born out of nectar. So that's what it was, the whole story was behind it. But Bhagwan didn't have too much time to. And Arjuna already knew these stories. He was just reminding him that, look, this is what it is. So now coming to Uchche Shravas. So Bhagwan said that among the horses, I am Uchche Shravas. So what is the symbolism of this Uchche Shravas? So he, most splendid and supreme of all horses he is. And many Puranas, it is depicted as 7-headed horse. Okay, I don't know how that's going to look like, but and that might be some more symbolism. Right now, I don't know about that. But the word Uchche and Shravas, what does it mean? Uchche means high, ऊंचा जैसे बोलते हैं ना हिंदी में, high or exalted something, lofty, noble, something like that. Shravas means fame. This horse is or very high fame, renowned fame, you can say. And what are the other characteristics of this horse? It is pure white, purity. And nature is obviously celestial. He's a celestial being, immortality and majestic and all that, king among all horses. And superior in strength and speed and beauty. And he symbolizes divine excellence. Running fast, lot of stamina and all that. So that's what its whole thing is. So now, Nikhilanandji's kind of interesting angle he brought. He said that, when this is symbolic, right? Everything. So just like this horse came out, we have these qualities within us also. Fast moving horse, stamina. Some people say, oh, मैं तो इतना जल्दी थक जाती हूँ हर एक चीज में. Hey, you have that within you, you have to bring it out. Sometimes if you are very enthusiastic about something, the stamina comes out. So he's saying this is what it is. And just like that, Airavat also is saying we have elephant power within us too. I thought that was an interesting way he approached it. And all these things, they symbolize certain things and they are within us. And then another thing, why did they, in one of the Puranas, it said that Bali took it, who is a Asura. Because he said that if you look at the Asuras, they have, obviously, overall, they have these negative qualities are there, but certain qualities they have of, this endurance and all that. He's saying the negative people also have this. And we will analyze this, what it is. So he's saying that sometimes these people, to do bad stuff also, they need good qualities. बोलते ना कि जितने भी ऐसे दुष्ट लोग हुए हैं ना दुनिया में, जिन्होंने बहुत बुरा किया है, some dictators and this and that, they had a very charismatic personality. So some people, they pull them towards them, and some people who are such highly qualified people also start following them. So we have to be very careful that we don't take our good qualities and direct it towards some negativity. So that's what he was talking about, because he said that these asuras, they have their own agenda, which is negative agenda, whatever, to hook or by crook, get more wealth, get this, get that, vijay kar lo, and everybody has to follow me and things like that, whichever way you look at it. So these people, when they need workers for them, they need honest, good people. They don't want cheaters. So इनके भी ग्रुप में जो है ना वर्कर्स, वो भी बड़े मेथोडिकल होते हैं, उनमें भी बड़े स्किल्स होते हैं, उनमें भी बड़ी, दे वांट ऑनेस्टी, डेडिकेशन, इसके बिना उनका भी काम नहीं चलता है. So that's what it is. And he's saying that people, if you are not kind of aware of this, think about it, that some people, they will sacrifice anything for these people, their lives, their comfort, and go and follow them, right? That's what I thought. That was such an interesting point he brought out. So he's saying that basically क्या होता है कि all these qualities are there by themselves, they are not negative or positive. This power of sustenance, stamina, fast moving horse or hathi ka power, whichever you want to take it, all these symbolism, that hey, where you direct it, that's what is more important. So he's saying that just like Karna ka example there, because we're talking about Bhagavad Gita, which is connected with Mahabharata, that he had amazing qualities, Karna. But what did he do? He dedicated it to the wrong person. So in the end, he had to get destroyed, And I was thinking the same thing about Bhishma Pitama. वो मजबूर थे, सभी में अपनी अपनी मजबूरी में बैठे हुए थे, but end result वही हुआ ना. He was such an amazing personality, and he was a great devotee of Lord Krishna and all that. उन्होंने विष्णु सहस्त्र नाम भी बोला है. So those are the things that we have to learn, that these goodness that we have, all these great qualities by Bhagwan, we should not dedicate towards adharma but dharma, in this context. So that's what it was. And okay. So this is what Uchcha Shrava ke baare mein hai. And now we go to Airavat. So Airavat was an elephant, and uska bhi jo usko depict karte hain na, white elephant, because white, dono white ही दिखाया उनको, because it's a purity. Multiple tusks दिखाया उसको, 4 tusks and 7 trunks. I don't know. Sometimes you might see these pictures, and this is a vehicle of Indra. देख के डर जाएगा कोई. And then there's another name of Airavat. It's called, I don't know how to say this, Abhramatang. Abhramatang is another name of this elephant. And the reason is, Abhra means cloud, and Matang means elephant. So he is the elephant of clouds, because he is Indra's Vahan bana, so he also became responsible for rain and stuff like that. He helped Indra with his whole job. So he also, जो वाहन होता है वो उतना ही पावरफुल हो जाता है, in a sense, जैसे कि देवी शेर पे बैठती है, वो शेर can take care of so many things himself. Before even the Devi has to come, शेर ही काफी है, something like that, So the association of Airavat is with thunder and rain. And so he brings the rain, some of the Puranas say, and then he also guards the entrance of the heavens. So अगर कोई बिना परमिशन के अंदर नहीं जा सकते तुम ऐरावत को के पहले, you have to, Airavat is like a guard, So with the 7 trunk and 4 tusks and all that, you better watch out, You better be a qualified person to get in. He can throw you out. Okay. And then, as I said, that Indra was using it when he was fighting the battles. He was using Airavat, and for all the celestial journeys and all that. And what is the Airavat symbolizes strength, wisdom, purity, and abundance. Those are the things that he symbolizes. And then it seems that all the other countries of like Thailand and Cambodia and all उनमें भी है उसका नाम थोड़ा बदल दिया एरावान कर दिया उसका नाम मगर वहाँ पर भी ये elephant is very popular in all their mandirs and things like that, you know. And then is whenever in any temple they show Airavat is surrounded by divine light and cloud and water and all that. That's how they depict this. So that is Airavat. So Bhagwan said, among the elephants, I'm Airavat. Now you know why, because it's very special elephant. And then he said something interesting. He said, among all human beings, consider the king of different places. Anybody who's a king, the title they have, that is Bhagwan's Vibhuti, you know. So obviously here we are not talking about some bad king or something, because this is Shastras we are talking about. So why did Bhagwan pick a king as his Vibhuti? Because just like Bhagwan is a karma phal data, symbolism is there. So, you know, it has a power to give reward or give punishment according to our karma. So, you know that the king means he's also like justice he's supposed to do. That if somebody's done some bad stuff, he decides the punishment. He hears the whole story. That's how in olden days they used to do. Now, though, they are different department in the democracy. You know, they have justice department and it's separate and all. But one time, king was doing all those things. So it's like as though the power is coming from that consciousness only to given it to the king. And he's saying that, so that is a similarity why Bhagwan said he's a Vibhuti. And what other things that point? So he was just saying that in olden days, when the king used to literally be worshipped by the subjects as Bhagwan, they used to look upon it as, you know, Bhagwan, or at least the representation of Bhagwan. They respected it. And you know, whoever has gone to Thailand from this group, they still do that. I was like so shocked. Unka bhi kuch system hai, king hota hai unka. I don't know what kind of government they have. They might have some aspects of democracy, of course. But just like that, England has a king and a queen and all, inka bhi hai. But because it's an Eastern culture, so when we were there, you know, suddenly these people started doing pranam, as bowing down and all that. And I saw there was a big picture of the king. So every king is called Rama there. जो भी नया king आता है उसका नाम वो लोग Rama रख देते हैं. And they have so much reverence for the king. I was just like amazed. But it's coming from something our Shastras only, because they are looking at, obviously you have to be a good king, you know. So, but there is something very interesting about that, who the real king should be. And if you read Ramayana, and now I'm reading Valmiki Ramayana, so I've gone through that. It's absolutely incredible that these are like Shastras, so they have put so much information in a very subtle way everywhere. So what the king should be and how a king should behave, what should be his mindset, everything is given in detail. Like so many verses, you know, 30, 40 verses. And when Bharat comes to meet Ramchandra ji, when Ramchandra ji was exiled into the jungle, then he went, Bharat milap vagar hua tha, everybody knows that, right? So when Bharat ji comes, they both are sitting and having a conversation. After it was determined that Bharat is going to be the king. He didn't want to be, but then everybody convinced him, including Ram Bhagwan. And then Ram Bhagwan gives him the whole lecture about how a good king should be. Because remember, he's giving his responsibility to Bharat. You know? So he has to train him. Bharat also was very capable. So I won't go into all that detail, but पूरा नीति शास्त्र बता दिया उन्होंने कि राजा को कैसा होना चाहिए. So that what is over here symbolizes the king, not some dusht king or anything, but a good king. And so they have to sacrifice their own life for the comfort of people sometimes, that much there, because they used to always be the front in the battle. and they have to have the welfare of the subjects, and they should consider their duty as a seva and dharma, and even if they have to sacrifice their sometimes family, they have to do that. And we saw Ram Bhagwan had to do that. So those kind of things that it is. And then Miraji is over here, and in Tulsi Ramayan, he gave a beautiful doha in there about how the king should be, how they should rule. And I will say in there, the chopai is there, but I'll tell the meaning. So, Mukhiya mukh so chahiye, khan pan sab ek, palahi poshahi sakal ang tulsi sahit vivek. So he's saying that Mukhiya means king. King ko kaisa hona chahiye? Like a mouth. Why did he say like a mouth? He's saying because it eats everything, and then it goes into the stomach, digests and distributes it according to who needs what in the whole body. Such a beautiful analogy they gave, that mouth is the one that eats or whatever the body needs, you have to eat it through the mouth. It goes to the mouth. Okay? So जैसे वो taxes वगैरह लेते हैं ना सबसे. So just that represent all the food, but then after that what he does, the king, he has to distribute, it goes, digest and distribute it to the whole body according to what somebody needs. A brain might need a little more energy, or hands and legs might, some other body may not. When we are sleeping, you will need less. Whichever way, it has the intelligence to do, that's how it should be. And the other symbolism was that if the food remains in the mouth and doesn't go down, it becomes toxic. Your teeth will start rotting and you will have all kinds of troubles. Everything has to go down. There should be no food left in the mouth. If the king becomes corrupt and start hoarding the wealth for himself, or like they say in the modern, put in some Swiss account somewhere, hide it, toxic for him and the country. Such a beautiful analogy, right? So that's what he's saying. So, and then this last line is saying, Palahi Poshi Vivek Sahit. It has to use its Vivek Buddhi, the king. That's how the king should be. So when Bhagwan is saying king among the men, all these things come under that. And then this can be part of a leadership also. When they're saying king, somebody can be a leader or, have a group of people, then how they should behave. All this is very, very important thing it is. So it has to be used for the welfare. That's the thing here. And he's saying if you do like that, then only you will progress. The countries will progress. Otherwise, they don't. And then the other few symbolism, we kind of already know now, but just to summarize it, that king among men represent the most distinguished, powerful, and capable human being. So usi ko king banaya jayega, right? So that's why it becomes Bhagwan's Vibhuti. And that person leads, governs, and protects, and sets moral standard for the society. That's another very important thing. In one of the verses in Bhagavad Gita in 3rd chapter, Bhagwan said that people follow the leader. They don't do what he says, they do what he does. So your actions are very, very, they speak louder than words. You might say, oh, it's like a parent, keep saying, Sach bolna chahiye, Sach bolna chahiye. The parents are telling a lie, the kid catches on. You can tell 100 times, but he's going to say, my mom or dad are lying, I can lie too. It's like that, So this is what it is. And so Krishna identifies with this ideal king. And in also, another angle you can take, that it shows the divinity in the worldly roles, that Bhagwan is not separate from the world. All the Bhagwan's qualities only flow through us, it pervades the entire world. But we see in the most exalted forms, we are seeing it over here. And so, symbolizes divine governance, responsibility, justice and order, those kind of things. And here it says a human leadership, when it is ideal, then it reflects Krishna's divine power. So that's the most important thing, that it has to be right one. And it points to the righteous king as his manifestation. And he reinforces the value of righteous dharma, जैसे बोलते हैं Ram Rajya. that kind of thing, that, uphold dharma in the society. And in this context is very important, the Mahabharata context, because the whole thing is about, the central theme is about dharma yuddha, they call it, against the adharma. So that's what this whole king thing is, because he's talking to Arjuna, who is going to fight a battle for dharma. That's why he's saying that. Encourage him to. So those are the things, So that's why Bhagwan said, I am the king among the men. Any question about this? So on one hand, they look like very simple verses, but so much is packed behind it, and we can think about so many different things, right? Yeah. Naresh, you have some comment?
No.
Oh, okay, because you had unmuted. Yeah. Okay. So I think everybody is saturated with horses and elephants and kings. So if nobody has any comment or question or anything, we can close Bhagavad Gita here, because I just prepared one. Yeah. I can't hear you, Meenaji.
Somebody has to read it.
Oh, yeah. That's right. So we have... I think I'm saturated today, looks like. All right.
Meenaji, go ahead and read it. Meenaji, please read it then. Meera, you come in rare.
Yeah, are you okay to read, Meeraji? Since you don't come, you show up only once in a while. So we're saying, okay, we're gonna get you this time. If you want to.
Meenaji said it so sweetly. I thought,
I call upon Meenaji all the time, and you're not there.
Okay, all right.
She's my Meeraji then.
Okay. Know me among horses as Ucheshvasam.
Ucheshravas.
Ucheshravas. Born of Amrit among lordly elephants, the Airavat, among men, the king. The Puranic story of the churning of the milky ocean, both by the gods and the demons, for the purpose of getting out of it the nectar, is very famous. During that churning, very many wondrous things presented themselves as byproducts, which were collected and distributed to deserving deities, and the main work of the churning was continued with non-stop diligence and enthusiasm until they gained what they wanted.
So I already went through this, right? So that's what, and I just remembered one thing I forgot to tell you. When it came to that horse, Ucheshravas, usko Bali ne le liya na. So Nikhilanand ji is very funny. He said that जो असुराज होते हैं ना, उनमें स्टेमिना इतना होता है, कुछ भी काम करने को जाते हैं, they can do it, और जो people who are goody, वो इतना जल्दी थक जाते हैं, they are like, oh my God, I'm so tired, I can't do this. Or these are keep going. They can do it because they got the Ucheshravas who has stamina like a horse. So that was funny. Yeah. So we know about churning. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. The symbolism in the story is quite evident. Man is continuously struggling to reach the immortal by a rediscovery of the soul through the churning of the very purity in himself between the repeated tensions of the good and the bad. In his total progress in the realms of the inward perfections, it is quite natural that he comes to discover in himself new powers and faculties, siddhis and riddhis, the appearance of which should not detract the seeker from his consistent effort, so that ultimately the realization of peace is gained by him.
So you saw that Swamiji brought out some other good points in here. Then in the churning, it is a tension between good and bad. That is also a very powerful symbolism, because Devtas were on one side, the Asuras was on the other side, and we are kind of thrown in this duality on this earth. And this is when we get churned, we are, everybody's life, we are getting churned, right? good news, good people, bad people, and in the between, they, oh, where am I? Where is God? Who am I? That's when you start asking this question. अगर सब एक ही तरफ होता रहता है, then you don't ask that question. You know, if you're totally down, you won't ask that question. If you are totally like happy, you won't. When you're somewhere in between, this is when you will ask these questions. Think about it. Symbolism is so strong here. It's perfect. You know, that's why we are thrown on this earth, you know, to find out who we are.
Two of the presentations that came up during the churning process were the winged horse, mighty and powerful, called Ucheshravas, and the white elephant, Aryabrat.
Airavat.
Sorry. Both of them were presented to the king of the gods, Indra. Altogether, it is described that 13 such tempting objects of might and glory of supernatural powers presented themselves during the churning. With this understanding, the stanza stands perfectly clear.
So even though Bhagwan just mentioned that Ucheshra was born out of Amrita, he wanted Arjuna to remember the entire story. That is a very important thing, because these verses are very compact and small, but just one word, it has a lot of things behind it, because the symbolism is so powerful behind it. And then also in the previous paragraph, he said that when you are going towards this, you discover new powers, riddhis and siddhis. And we have heard that people who are sadhu sant, when they are meditating deep, they get all these siddhis and all that happens to them. So this is not like unusual to get these things, but like they say that they cannot get distracted by them. Otherwise, they will be sitting in these riddhi siddhis only. They won't go to the goal. They will forget about Amrit. They will be so happy. I got this jewel. I'm going home now. Hey, you forgot the goal was Amrit, which was immortality. That's another symbolism. Yeah, you can go ahead.
Okay. So I'm moving on to the next.
Oh, so in that paragraph is not there?
No, I'm moving on to the next. For the next verse, there is a connection. In the scheme of the analogies given here, in this book, in the book that I got.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So on the next page, then I'm on page 85, and there's this connecting paragraph which says, in the scheme of the analogies given here, it is interesting to note how there is a systematic pattern formed. In the opening, he finished the Vedika references. Then he slowly came down to such of the references as have a mention both in the Vedas and the Puranas. And then he steadily reached to purely Puranic references, as in the present verse. Continuing, the Lord says, and that takes me to
the
verse
next
28.
one. Right. So, थोड़ा analysis किया है स्वामी जी ने कि some of the references were purely Vedic. That then, when he earlier part of it, and then he took references which was in Vedas and Puranas both, and then there were references which were only Puranas. And that's what he was saying. So I think that what the main thing over here is that Bhagwan is pervading everything and everywhere. So he just want to make sure that he takes the examples from everywhere. But if he just focuses on one aspect, then again it might become lopsided, So that's why he's doing that. And then we will see, he will go a lot deeper in many different things. But in the next verse also, a few of the Puranic things will continue, So that's what it is. He was just saying, analyzing this whole thing. Okay. Did I miss anything? No. Because these days I'm also in a rush. I go early morning to take care of my grandson, and I call it I'm going for Mangal Aarti. That's my Mangal Aarti these days. So when I come, I'm like being a little bit rush. But yeah, it's a lot of work, but I'm also enjoying a lot. So that's what it is. Yeah. Any question? Any comment? Nope. Okay. So we'll close here. Bhagavad Gita. Sarvadharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja aham tva sarva papebhya mokshayishyami ma shuchah. Hari Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.